right. All right. Recommended action that the Board of Education leaves executive session and returns to the work session meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Oppose, abstain, motion carries. All right, we will now move into the work session part of our evening, which is our volunteer recognition. This is always one of my happier meetings of the year where we get to take a moment to recognize all of the amazing community members and parents and family who volunteer and help support our schools all year. So I'm going to turn it over to Superintendent Walker.
Thank you, Sarah. Good evening, Tigers. It's wonderful and an honor to have an opportunity this evening to spend a few minutes in recognition and appreciation of those special members of our school district community who give of their greatest resource and their time to the cause of bettering the experience for our students, the children of our school district community. Through service on the PTA, our district's committees and task forces, building planning councils, the Board of Education, the Croton Harmon Education Foundation, the Booster Club, and others, more than 300 people have made themselves a part of the fabric of our school district by volunteering in the past year. And in doing so, these incredible members of our community have given perhaps the greatest gift possible to our students. They've created the conditions for our students to experience events, resources, and moments that many of them will remember for the rest of their lives. That is a remarkable accomplishment and one that will leave a legacy for years to come in our school district. As a way of helping to recognize these dedicated individuals, we're happy to share this video presentation, which helps to encapsulate some of the many wonderful moments and lifelong memories that our volunteers have helped to envision and create for our students and for our staff as well. A special thank you, of course, to Greg Cavallari for all of his help and expertise in putting together this presentation, and we hope that all of our volunteers enjoy. Greg, thank you, sir.
Yes. That was a great presentation, and I hope we are able to get that out
Mhm.
widely. I will say, however, there is one person who is missing from the Board of Ed.
Yeah.
Who is Lucas,
Ah,
right? Because, we should recognize
We
the
should.
fact
Good catch.
that he is a volunteer and, willing to stay up with us at night. He'd rather be
Yes,
doing
he
other
certainly
stuff.
is.
We
Yeah.
appreciate that.
That's on me. We'll make that change and then we'll
Noted.
get that
I
out
will
tomorrow.
update that
Yeah.
before we send it to them.
Great.
Thank you. And thank you very much, Greg. That was a wonderful presentation. And thank you again to all of our community members. It's incredible how many people give of their time and give so much to our students. So we appreciate it. And we will now move on to ongoing business. Recommended action that the Board of Education conducts a second reading and adopts the following board policies as presented.
Second.
On the question?
The one thing I will note is that at our last meeting, we deferred consideration or approval of policy 1230, public comment at board meetings. Iris had raised a question about certain language about organizations presenting. That language has been revised. I can read it out to everybody if you want, but Iris and the committee were approved that language as revised.
And I just want to thank, I know there were other board members who also gave some feedback. So I just want to thank the committee for your hard work and your diligence. And I think this is a really good policy.
Great.
Thank you. All right. All in favor? Aye. Oppose, abstain, motion carries. Recommended action that the Board of Education approves the bond resolution as presented.
So moved.
Second,
On the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Oppose, abstain, motion carries. We'll now move into new business. Recommended action that the Board of Education approves the resolution regarding waiver of community service requirements for certain students in the Croton Harmon High School class of 2022 as presented.
so moved.
Second.
On the question? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Oppose, abstain, motion carries. Recommended action that the Board of Education accepts the results of the May 17th, 2022 school budget vote and school board election as presented.
So moved.
Second,
On the question?
I just want to thank, this is my last opportunity to really thank Tracy and all of the poll workers that we had that day. I know it wasn't easy because of the record turnout. So I just want to recognize the hard work that you guys do and thank you.
Absolutely, yes. Aye. Oppose, abstain, motion carries. We will now move into donations. Recommended action that the Board of Education gratefully accepts 2 donations each in the amount of $200 from Eric Kohler and New York Life as a contribution to the Carrie E. Tompkins Elementary School General Fund.
So moved. Second.
On the question? All in favor?
aye.
Oppose, abstain, motion carries. Recommended action that the Board of Education gratefully accepts a donation in the amount of $1,000 from Debbie and Ed Braddock as a contribution to the Dan Delaney Scholarship Fund.
So moved.
Second.
On the question?
Do we have any information regarding Dan Delaney?
Yes. He's alive, he's well. I'm having lunch with him tomorrow.
Okay, curious about the scholarship.
Well,
Oh,
and
he was our prior
Oh.
choose coordinator
Okay.
and retired
2 years ago.
2 years ago, 3 years ago, maybe now.
he was
So-
More than 4.
Wow.
Really?
he
Time
was
flies.
youth coordinator and
He
the
wasn't here while
senior
I've been-
class,
Oh, that's right.
special
You retired
education
with Ed.
teacher and the
Yeah.
senior class advisor.
Lovely.
And he developed relationships that have transcended the decades with the students that
Wonderful.
he worked with. So, yeah.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Oppose, abstain, motion carries. Recommended action that the Board of Education gratefully accepts a donation in the amount of $500 from Debbie and Ed Braddock as a contribution to the Dr. Edward R. Furman Scholarship Fund.
So moved.
Second,
Do we,
On the question?
do we have any information about Dr. Furman? I'd love to hear it.
Dr. Furman was the superintendent of our district from 2009 to 2018. He retired in 2018 and served through a lot of difficult travails and a lot of achievements during that 9 years, which we can certainly describe, those of us who worked with him in great detail.
And I think this scholarship was established because Dr. Furman had a student focus, and he was like one of the premier student advocates. People felt, and that's why they established this in his name.
Wonderful. Thank you for that insight.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Oppose, abstain, motion carries. Recommended action that the Board of Education gratefully accepts a donation in the amount of $200 from Sam Acapinti as a contribution to the Jean Pearl Memorial Fund.
So moved.
Second.
On the question?
I just want to add that Ms. Acapinti, who is retiring
Yes.
at the end of this year, was for many years the teacher, sometimes with another teacher and then by himself in the transitional alternative program. And I described previously that the scholarship is designed as not a scholarship, as an award in memory of Jean Pearl for students who have persevered in dealing with challenges in their education here and have grown and may not be going to college. It's not focused on a student who's necessarily going to college, but focused on students who should be recognized.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Oppose, abstain, motion carries. All right. Thank you again to all of our donors. We very much appreciate your support of our students. And now we'll move into instructional personnel. Recommended action that the Board of Education approves the instructional personnel appointments as presented.
So moved.
You can second it,
Second.
Josh. On the question? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Oppose, abstain, motion carries.
I do have one question, which is really not about these individuals, but it's, have we completed our recruitment of staff for September, or do we have?
We have
positions?
the middle school assistant principal.
Right.
Is our last one.
All but teaching staff,
That's
we've got
correct.
everybody in
Yes,
place.
we
Great.
did.
All right, recommended action that the Board of Education approves the 2022-2023 part-time instructional personnel appointments as presented.
So moved.
Josh, you can second it again. on a beat.
I will second it again.
All right, on the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Oppose, abstain, motion carries. Recommended action that the Board of Education approves the instructional personnel appointments as presented. This is the leave replacements.
So moved.
Okay. Second?
On the question? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Abstain, motion carries. All right, we'll now move to 6.4. Recommended action that the Board of Education accepts the resignation of Lauren Scollins, PVC Assistant Principal, effective end of day, June 30, 2022.
End of
We
day.
have to,
Nobody's
so
moving on that.
someone has to move it. I know none of us want
For a
to.
second.
Sorry. None of us want to, but
She'll just have to stay.
somebody here, please.
With
Well,
regret.
thank you, Iris.
Thank you.
With regret.
Iris,
Can I get a second there?
With regret for the.
With regret.
There you go.
I'm sorry, who?
Josh,
Josh.
Iris
Josh
and Josh.
moved it and then-
So.
Iris moved it, Josh
Josh-
seconded
Thank you,
again.
sorry.
So,
Omar, I saw you were willing to second it as well. but
I'll
yeah.
take one for the team. It's okay.
Yeah, as you can tell, none of us are particularly, happy to accept this resignation, but we are incredibly excited for Lauren and for her next steps. So we wish her all the best.
I do have one question.
Yes.
And this is unusual wording, recommended action. It does say end of day.
So check in at lunchtime and make sure she is still
And
there.
what tasks might be given to her at 2:00 on June 30th?
Right.
Michael has an extensive list.
The work day, the daylight day, the
Yeah.
Midnight?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oppose, abstain, motion carries. We will now move into the consent agenda. Recommended action that the Board of Education approves all items in the consent agenda.
Second.
On the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oppose, abstain, motion carries. All right, we will now move into the closing of the meeting, and we will be going into a second executive session. We expect that we will adjourn immediately following that executive session. The recommended action that the Board of Education enters into executive session to discuss the employment of a particular person or persons and contract negotiations for CHOP, the Croton Harmon Administrators Association.
Second.
Second.
You got who moved it?
Iris.
Okay, all right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oppose, abstain, motion carries. All right, thank you very much. Thank you to the community who is tuned in or came to join us. And we will adjourn immediately following our executive session. So have a lovely evening.
Is that John's third one?
Yeah, he's on a roll here.